Hey guys, good morning. Red and black greetings. This is Flamengo. Very well. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel, newcomers. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down here and turn on notifications. Click the bell and leave that awesome like on the video. Let's go. I'll bring you some important information here, all right? Regarding the transfer market, yesterday I talked to you about 4 possible departures, but actually, there are 5 possible departures from Flamengo. Flamengo is still waiting for an offer for Michael. The player hasn't been in the squad or on the bench, so his chance of being transferred is high. Flamengo is waiting for offers, and I said 5, but it's actually 6 since Pablo will leave at the end of the year, making 6 confirmed departures. So for 2025, either now or at the end of the year, okay? The other 4 names, Lohan, who is leaving for Pisa for 500,000 euros on a monetized loan plus 4 million euros as a mandatory purchase. Flamengo retains 50% and holds a buyback clause for the player. He's heading to Pisa, Italy, which is a great opportunity for Flamengo to benefit. If the player is sold for a good amount, a lot of money, right? And then what? Mateus Gonçalves of Flamengo also requested bank guarantees, according to Pablo and Rafael Rua, and then to Central Sports Club of the Army so they can release the player's signing, 5 million euros bonuses, and a Flamengo percentage. Many factors are involved. So players that Flamengo expected to sell for 20 or 30 million euros are leaving for much less, but with Flamengo keeping a good percentage in a future deal, okay? So Mateus Gonçalves isn't certain, right? Lohan is already the famous "here we go" from Fabrizio Romano. Here's another situation to share with you. We'll discuss the transfer market often. Juninho, okay? The information coming from Azerbaijan is that Karabakh is trying to sign him again. Now, Flamengo won't let him go for a low fee. Flamengo wants to recover some of what was invested in Juninho. All right. So to let Juninho go to Karabakh, right? Karabakh, the Azerbaijani club, will compete in major tournaments this season. They want Juninho back there. He's very well liked. So that's it. There is this interest, according to local newspapers, according to the news coming in, there is interest in signing Juninho. But Flamengo won't agree to let him go for a small amount of money, right? For less than what Flamengo paid. It could be a bit less, but not much less than what Flamengo paid. And there's also the salary issue, right? And the player gets a salary that's not exactly cheap. Along with the names I mentioned, Vitor Hugo may also leave. Santos and other teams are interested in signing Vitor Hugo. The player who returned to Flamengo even traveled to the south, but wasn't included in the squad for the Libertadores and Brazilian League matches. He wasn't registered for the Libertadores. So Filipe Luis might end up releasing the player. Santos is interested in some information coming from there, right? Lucas Musetti brought this information that Vitor Hugo is of interest to Santos about the transfer market. We even posted on our Instagram last night about this whole situation with Flamengo's signings. Call up Alexandro, who should be withdrawn from the squad. It hasn't been announced yet, but by Ancelotti, because he confirmed a calf injury, right? He left the game the day before yesterday, and now the injury has been confirmed by Flamengo. And now let's talk a bit about Flamengo trying to shield the squad so they don't lose players and still renew some contracts. Flamengo is working to keep its main starting lineup and doesn't plan to sell any more key players. Those would be the players from the first and second teams, the main one and the direct substitute, right? Filipe of Flamengo believes the starter has no true substitute. There are 18 or 19 players who can play normally. Flamengo basically has 2 teams, right? The transfer window closes on September 2nd, so it's nearly over. Wesley and Gerson were major departures, right? The board will only consider negotiating players who lost their place under Filipe Luis and isn't planning any new signings right now. Those players I mentioned, Michael, even him, Cebolinha, but even though Felipe still likes him, he'd be an option. Has he played? President Mbappe orders the squad to resist outside pressure and stay together in 2026. Leo Ortiz and Leo Pereira, like we mentioned here yesterday, right? For example, they attract European interest. But Flamengo will only let the duo go if their release clause is paid or if the offer is very high. Flamengo is just holding on to them, according to Emanuele Brito from Globo Esporte. Flamengo is therefore holding on to some of its main players to avoid having to make too many signings next year, even having to get the squad to gel again and everything else. Flamengo wants to keep its core and team together, and that's absolutely right. We're going to talk about Pedro here, who really deserves it. Even Vito Canedo, a tricolor, has talked about Pedro's skills since his time at Fluminense. I call him the Brazilian Ibra, right? And tricolor fans, Carlos Daniel praising Vito Canedo, everyone talking about Pedro. The truth is, he's the man of the moment. Pedro today deserves it more than Caio Jorge. He has a lot of skills, he plays really well. And there's almost unanimous agreement when it comes to Pedro deserving to play in the World Cup. So Pedro today is the striker that I don't see anyone else at the same level to play in the World Cup, to be the starting striker for the Brazilian national team. So Pedro really deserves it, and it's almost unanimous that he should be the striker for the Brazilian national team in the World Cup. I don't think there's anyone even close to his level, right? As Vitor Canedo himself said, Caio Jorge still has a long way to go before he can make it to the World Cup. Leaving Pedro out, right? Pedro Guilherme is still way above, isn't he? He's skilled, flexible, scores chip goals, and is a monster. Look, we've had Flamengo players called up. Iago, João Vitor, and Lucas Furtado are among the 26 athletes called up by Ramon Menezes for the final preparation phase of the Brazil U20 national team. Okay, the training period takes place in Atibaia, Sao Paulo from September 1st to 9th with activities at the Red Bull Bragantino Training Center. Okay. The preparation is focused on the World Cup, which will be held in Chile from September 27th to October 19th. So Flamengo has these three players who are world champions, right? João Vitor, Iago, and Lucas Furtado have been called up, okay? Congratulations to the Flamengo boys who were called up, the boys from Ninho, right? They were called up too. Pedro deserves it, both on the professional team and overall. Samolino too, he's on fire. By the way, right, our friend over there, Rica Peroni, said that he kind of gave his opinion that Samolino was a reject from Europe. That if he was really good, Atletico de Madrid wouldn't have sold him to Brazil, right? He would have gone to another team in Europe. He added, oh, Saul is too. Everyone is shocked since nobody knew him. Rica Peroni, listen for a bit. Someone who understands soccer, man. Not that you don't understand, right? What's with this recent persecution of Flamengo? Rica, stop it, man. You're just trying to get engagement by talking bad about Flamengo, complaining about Flamengo's player. For God's sake, man. Man, I praised you so much the other day about the 87 thing, right? You said the title really belongs to Flamengo, right? Just telling the truth. Nothing more, nothing less than the truth. Now, talking about I, man, talking about I. He said the other day the Aspas fans were calling for Felipe Luis's head. I've always stood up for Felipe Luis, and many others did too. Some whiners were attacking Felipe, and now they're all untouchable, right? But man, for God's sake, look at what Ronaldo said about Flamengo signings, Samuel Lino and Emerson Royal. He didn't talk about Saul, he talked about Emerson Royal. Lino's signing shows that Flamengo has good financial health, which is a result of good management and sales that have a positive impact on the club. He's a young player. He could still go to several other European clubs after leaving Atletico de Madrid, but he chose to sign with Flamengo. Ronaldo's perspective differs from Flamengo's. Rica noted this, saying Lino could have joined European clubs but chose Flamengo instead. He'll bring valuable international experience, and Flamengo paid 25 million euros for him. Maybe even more than what the European clubs would have paid. For sure, he's going to make a big difference in the pursuit of the Libertadores and Brazilian League titles. He also praised Emerson Royal. He's another example of a player who could have stayed in Europe but chose to play in Brazil. And it could be really good for him since he's already been called up to the Brazilian national team and was at the last Copa America, being close to Ancelotti's eyes. A very important position in Brazil, which is right back, and it really is a key position. It's hard to find an option. And I really agree with Ronaldo with what he said. Yes, it's important that Flamengo made the signing, and those guys are really good, okay? Wasn't it? Rico said, Samorino only played once and everyone's already idolizing him. No, he's already played several games. He's played a lot of matches and already had two or three. He did really well and he's doing great. The team is in sync and playing well, inspiring others too. Pedro improved and everyone is getting better. Look at this. The Brazilian Football Confederation released the detailed schedule up to the 27th round of the Brasileirão. So, 23rd round, Juventude and Flamengo on September 14th Sunday at 4 post meridian. 24th round, Flamengo and Vasco, September 21st at 5:30 post meridian at Maracanã. 25th round, Corinthians versus Flamengo on September 28th Sunday, 8:30 post meridian, Brasilia at Neoquímica Arena. Then the 26th round with Flamengo still having a game in hand against Sport. Flamengo and Cruzeiro on October 2nd, Thursday at 8:30 post meridian at Maracanã. 27th round, Bahia and Flamengo on October 5th, Sunday at 6:30 post meridian at Arena Fonte Nova in Salvador. So all these dates are confirmed there of Flamengo's matches, okay? Look, it almost seems like a lie, right? But it really isn't. Together, Jorginho and Saul never lost. If they had 17 games together without defeats, now they have 18. That's 16 wins and 2 draws, okay? So together, Jorginho and Saul have 18 games, 16 wins, and 2 draws. Impressive numbers from the foreigners there. Jorginho is Italo-Brazilian, but I'll call him a foreigner anyway, you know. Jorginho plays for Italy and Saul plays for Spain, having competed in the 2018 World Cup. So it's really important for us to mention that 18 matches, 2 draws, and 16 wins. And Flamengo is the team in the world with the most wins, right? Since Filipe Luis's debut in 2025, actually, that's not even correct. Since Filipe Luis's debut, Flamengo is the team with the most wins in the world. Okay, that's 44 wins, and that's counting everything, all right? Counting all the teams on the planet, impressive, man. Impressive. Look, it's just us two. Also, I have information here that all the tickets for Flamengo and Grêmio are sold out, okay? Flamengo faces a heavy pressure again against Grêmio. Tickets are sold out. Please remember to download SofaScope to help our channel. We're bringing a lot of information to you here, and you really help our channel a lot. Look, Jornal Globo brought some information that I had already talked to you about. Raiza also knew about this, that Flamengo is not interested in signing Andres Pereira, especially since they managed to get a player like Sol Carrascal. They found options that they believe are better options. How should I put this? Sol is more experienced. Sol, Felipe, he had Felipe do Boto's approval. They know he'd be an important player and fit well with Jorginho. That's what's happening. He fit in really well at Flamengo, and then Carrascal also hasn't had much opportunity yet to show his football. But there's that belief as well. And Flamengo ended up giving up, losing interest in Andres Pereira and Abel Ferreira's persistence. We did it. This whole situation made Andres say yes to Palmeiras. And that's it, guys. There's nothing more to say about it. That's just nonsense. You know, I think the player went there. That's his problem. We have a very strong squad, a squad that I believe is much better than Palmeiras, even with Andres. And we have to move on. That's nonsense, man. I don't even care about this situation involving Andres. The news is relevant since he played for Flamengo and was involved in that situation. But I think it's important for us to bring up these situations so the fans can stay calm because Flamengo is doing really well. Man, Flamengo's team. Everyone wanted Flamengo's team and players and wanted their team to play like them. Palmeiras fans watch ours, what I saw from those guys reacting to our games, and making it clear that they really wanted their team to be playing like this. Look, I'm also talking about Flamengo. They have the highest goal difference in the history of the point system after 20 games. They not only lead in points, but also have the highest goal difference. Flamengo's team scored 35 goals after 44 balls in the net and 9 goals conceded. So they conceded 9 goals, scored 44 goals, and have a goal difference of 35. Man, that's a lot too. Flamengo is reaching impressive numbers. I think it's important for us to talk about this here. I'm going to share an opinion here as well from Neto, right? Claiming Flamengo will end up like Bahia if Corinthians and others don't get organized. And the guy, I think he did really well. Neto did really well with that statement. Why him? Why Neto? Because what Flamengo is really doing is nothing funny. And instead of despising and speaking badly about Neto, this time I liked it because Neto is being robbed. Neto is kind of redeeming himself. He really likes to criticize, to attack for no reason, but now he spoke up. Look, if he opens his eyes now, no one will be able to stop him anymore, huh? No one will be able to stop him, okay? No one can stop him, okay? He said it's an opinion about Flamengo, Corinthians, Santos, São Paulo, Internacional, Grêmio, Ceará, Fortaleza, all 8 clubs in the Brazilian league. And he's talking about Flamengo and Palmeiras. If you don't pay attention, you can't have a transfer ban anymore. You can't have bad management anymore. Or you guys, in this case, need to get your act together and so on. Or Flamengo is going to be like Bayern in the German championship. He even mentions 12 straight titles. Will that happen with Flamengo? Palmeiras wins 3 or 4 of 12, while Flamengo wins 8. Look at what he said. Palmeiras wins 4 or 5, right? That's what's going to happen in the next few years. No one else in this country will win the Brazilian Championship or the Libertadores. Maybe the Copa do Brasil, which is different. Corinthians, São Paulo, Santos could win that. Without that, forget it. You guys are just spinning your wheels, wasting your time, managing things badly. You just make the clubs worse. Flamengo and Palmeiras will have an easy time in the years ahead. And I'll say more. I think that in the coming years, with the squads they're building, Flamengo and Palmeiras won't even need to prioritize. Will they still win the Copa do Brasil? Flamengo wins Copa do Brasil em Libertadores or Brasileirão em Libertadores. Palmeiras wins Copa do Brasil em Libertadores. It's gonna keep rotating like that. And on this one, I agree with Neto. What's gonna happen? Sometimes a surprise team like Botafogo with Textor will try to win the Libertadores with a cash injection, acting like a surrogate team. Aside from that, my friends, it'll be Flamengo and Palmeiras. One becomes a 4-time champion, then the other catches up. Then one becomes a 5-time champion, and the other catches up again. And man, in the end, that's really great. Flamengo leads in Rio, Palmeiras in São Paulo. Soon, it's Flamengo versus Palmeiras. Getting close, even surpassing the King of Cups, which is Independiente. I don't like seeing Palmeiras or the rival as champions. But looking at it from this perspective, if Flamengo and Palmeiras are taking turns winning titles every year, it's very important. It's incredible. Nobody can stop them now. Also, when you win a title, you get a prize, right? Money comes in. So the international press covered Flamengo's big win against Vitoria. Magnificent performance. So people abroad are already praising, they're already noticing this movement from Flamengo, from Palmeiras themselves, but they're seeing Flamengo's team in a different way. Man, impressive, impressive. Look, we'll be back later. I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Thank you so much for your company. Red Black greetings. This is Flamengo. A big hug. Thanks. I'm out.